The time is 2 p.m. You're watching Market View ERS Text Talk right here on Eswatini TV. My name is Nothelesi Tole. Welcome to the program. As we count down to the end of the year, attention is now shifting towards an important obligation for businesses and individual taxpayers, of course, which is provisional tax payment compliance. With the deadline for the first installment fast approaching, the Eswatini Revenue Service is urging taxpayers to fully understand their responsibilities, submit accurate estimates, and make timely payments to avoid penalties. Today on the program, we get to understand who falls under this category and how digital platforms like TaxEase are making the process more efficient. The ERS will tackle everything you need to know ahead of the 31 December 2025 deadline. But first, our business stories. In our business news, we begin with this. The Central Bank of Eswatini has released the October to November statistical release, and the gross official reserves have shown a major increase, climbing up to 15.4 billion emalangeni at the end of last month, reflecting increases of 6.8% month-on-month and 21.8% year-on-year. According to the Central Bank of Eswatini, the month-on-month growth was mainly driven by inflows from foreign currency trades between the central bank and commercial banks. As a result, the import cover rose from 3.4 months in October to 3.6 months in November this year. Credit to the private sector grew marginally by 0.04% month-on-month and 8.2% year-on-year, reaching 21.7 billion emalangeni in October this year. The month-on-month increase was mainly driven by higher lending to households and non-profit institutions serving households, as well as to other sectors of the domestic economy, while credit to businesses contracted over the same period. Credit extended to businesses declined by 1.1% month-on-month, but grew by 10.8% year-on-year, settling at 11.4 billion emalangeni at the end of October this year. The month-on-month fall in credit to businesses resulted from reduced lending to small and medium enterprises, while credit to large enterprises increased. Credit to SMEs declined by 4.5% to 3.7 billion emalangeni, whereas credit to large enterprises rose by 0.7% to 7.7 billion emalangeni over the review month. Consequently, the share of business credit allocated to SMEs declined slightly from 33.6% in September this year to 32.4% in October this year, while the share of large enterprises rose from 66.4% to 67.6% over the same period. The government's position with the banking industry improved in October of 2025, with net claims on government falling from 1.6 billion emalangeni in September this year to 1.3 billion emalangeni. This improvement resulted from a larger decline in claims on government relative to the fall in government deposits. Claims on government decreased by 8.4% to 7.5 billion emalangeni following the repayment of the advance from the central bank. Earthworks gain momentum on the future Manzini Mall, which is expected to hire about 4,000 eMaswati upon completion. The mall is being built by Intuse Development, with local companies participating in the construction.
In May last year, the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangoba Khumalo, set Manzini's future in motion when he commissioned the state-of-the-art shopping mall at the Old Trade Fairgrounds. Today, that vision is taking shape. Groundwork is underway, the machinery is in full operation, and construction has officially commenced. The initial investment remains at 2 billion emalangeni, with the possibility of rising to 5 billion emalangeni depending on final construction costs and new infrastructure additions. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade confirmed that the early stages of the project will employ 650 to 1,000 eMaswati. Upon completion, the development is expected to create about 4,000 job opportunities, including 1,400 permanent jobs and 2,600 construction phase positions. Ntwese Development Project Manager Antonio Souza explained last year that given Eswatini's income dynamics, these jobs could indirectly support up to 40,000 people, with each income extending to multiple households. Honorable Mangoba Khumalo reiterated that this initiative is a prime example of public-private partnership, infrastructure growth, and strategic investment designed to transform Manzini's economy and impact the nation at large. The minister also confirmed that the Manzini Mall will include key infrastructure links such as a bridge connecting directly to the Mavuso Trade and Exhibition Center, as well as seamless access to a bus terminus, taxi rank and market stalls. The communications officer at the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Andile Dlamini, has confirmed that work on site is progressing smoothly. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vumingo Sinzinisa, Manzini.
In other stories, over 270 young people have showed up for the last leg of Indaba X program, which is rather actually a program locally organized events and conferences across Africa that aims to strengthen and build capacity in machine learning and artificial intelligence within individual countries. Eswatini FinTech Working Group, Dr. Andile Matula, explains the significance of this initiative. We'll go for a break. The Market View ERS Text Talk continues after this.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.sz. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Good afternoon, Nkosi. Thank you very much for your time. What is provisional tax?
Afternoon to you, Natsile. Afternoon to our viewers as well. Thank you for having us this afternoon. So yes, the big question, what is provisional tax? So provisional tax payments are advanced tax payments made towards your annual tax return. We do expect our clients to make installments and not wait until they file their eventual annual income tax return, where now they will need to pay a lump sum. But we expect them to make installments towards their annual income tax return. So the provisional tax mechanism works in such a way that during the year you make the installments, and once you've made those installments, whenever now you file or when eventually you file your annual income tax return, the system will credit your tax account using the provisional tax payments that you would have made during the course of the year. So it is a statutory obligation. We do expect our clients to adhere to this call. It's not like it's an option or it's optional. It's also a benefit, like I've already highlighted, that it will ease the tax burden when you eventually file your annual income tax return, because you would already have made the installments. Having mentioned the part that it is an obligation, I would also like to highlight that unfortunately, if you do not adhere to this call, you might find yourself having been charged penalties and interest, and you do not want to be in that position.
So who is a provisional taxpayer?
Okay, so yes, we do expect our clients to file, and who exactly is a provisional tax payer. We are calling upon all individuals or anyone who might have made income other than employment income or remuneration during the course of the year, we expect those to file and pay their provisional taxes. We also expect directors of private companies to adhere to the code of provisional tax, making payments towards their provisional taxes. We also expect companies to pay provisional tax. Also, sole traders fall within the bracket of those who are expected to make the installments, which we refer to as provisional tax. But maybe to sum it up, Notsile, I'd like to highlight that we are actually calling upon all those that the Commissioner has called formally and has addressed them as provisional taxpayers to adhere to the call.
Right. Thank you very much for that one, Sebo. When are clients expected to submit their provisional tax payments?
So provisional tax, as I've mentioned, these are installments. We have them actually divided into three for the normal taxpayers. We have first installment, second installment, as well as an option of a third installment. For the first installment, which is the one that we are talking to today, it is due the 30th of December 2025. So how do we get to 31st of December 2025? The first installment is actually due into your balance month. So I'll make an example that you're a client that has a tax year that begins 1 July to 30 June. So the first 6 months, we expect you to file and pay your first provisional tax, which is the 31st of December. And then for the second installment, it falls at the last day of your balance month, which in my example will be the 30th of June. And then for the third installment, we expect clients to top up should there be a difference just before they file their annual income tax return. But we do have clients who have been permitted to not align to the Commissioner's year of assessment in terms of the July and June. So please ensure that you adhere to the first 6 months. The last day of the first 6 months into your year, we expect you to pay your first installment, and then the last day of your year, depending which month is your balance month, we expect you to adhere to the second provisional tax. We also have clients which we refer to them as small traders, small businesses, or informal traders, which now fall within the new tax regime, which we refer to as presumptive tax. We also expect those ones to also make the installments. It is a culture that we want to encourage in our clients, that you do not wait for the last day, or you do not wait for the time where you now file your eventual annual income tax return to make a lump sum payment. Even if you are a small trader, we say please ensure that you make installments towards your income tax.
You've touched on non-presumptive tax, and there's also what is called presumptive tax. Can you perhaps then give us the difference between the two?
Okay, so the non-presumptive tax, which is the normal tax regime, that is where when you are filing your income tax now, you are a taxpayer that is aligned to the normal tax regime, where we will calculate when you are filing your income tax, it will be your income minus your expenses, and then on the difference, say you made a profit, will charge you on the applicable tax rate, which the current one now is 25%. But for presumptive taxpayers, it's only based on your turnover, and it's staggered. Zero. If you made a turnover of 0 to 50,000 emalangeni in that year, the tax will be at 0%. But if you make any turnover above 50,000 but kept at 500,000, we will tax you at 1.75%. That is the presumptive taxpayers.
What are the available ERS payment channels?
So once you've filed, is not complete just by filing. We also expect you to make the payment and make it on time. So we do have available channels for our clients to take advantage of and make payments, one of which you can make online banking, which is electronic funds transfer, which is EFT. You can also visit our our service centers, where you can swipe using our POS or speed points. You can also use Momo and make your payment. You can also do a direct bank deposit and make your payment.
Thank you very much, Sebo. How are clients expected to keep provisional tax? And with regards to that, is it possible that a taxpayer may overestimate or underestimate their provisional tax?
Okay, yeah, there are possibilities of underestimating and overestimating, but please take courage that the system that you'll be using, TaxEase, has already done the calculations for you. You can just to also understand the concept, how we got to the calculation, how we got to the estimate that you will find in the system that you would have raised. So we base the calculation for provisional tax on a basic amount, which is your normal tax that you declared the previous year, the latest previous year. So I'll make an example that you filed last year, your annual income tax return. Once you file that, the applicable tax rates then are effected, and then we generate the first installment, which is now due December 2025, which will be half of your assessed for the previous year. So you can just look at it. If your annual income tax return last year was 100,000, it means your half this year will be 50 for the first installment. We expect you to log into TaxEase. You will actually find ERS have already raised that first installment. So you either agree to that installment, or you can deviate by providing supporting documents. Maybe you already have a feel in terms of your operations. You can already see that you're taking a huge or a different direction altogether compared to last year. You are allowed to deviate. But whenever you do that deviation, please ensure that you upload possible supporting documents. And then immediately do that. We expect you to then make the payment. That is how we come about in calculating provisional tax. And then the second installment, which I said will come at the last day of the year, meaning in my example would be the 30th of June next year now. It means from the first installment that would have been raised in December, now when you are closing your year, you already know, you already kind of like have balanced your books. You already can see how much is it that you will need to pay towards your main income tax. So it will be what is assessed for the year less what you paid for your first installment. Then the difference will be your second installment. Then for the debt, as I already highlighted, if there are any top-ups that you need to make just before you file your eventual annual income tax return, we expect that you can take advantage of the mechanism, the debt installment provisional tax.
Thank you very much, Tebo. And just for our clients, when are they expected to submit their provisional tax?
It's very simple. We are still using our TaxEase platform, which is a self-service platform. If you have problems or challenges with connectivity, the system is available also in all our service centers, where you can just be guided and walk into a kiosk and connect and do your filing. So once you've logged into TaxEase, you just go to your dashboard, you go to account, and then you take advantage of the filing history. That is where you will find the first installment provisional. Because remember, I did mention that it is already filed by the commissioner. It's open until 31st of December, so you can go there, either you agree or you deviate, like we've already highlighted, and you make the payment. But please note, if for some reason you don't adhere to this call and 31st December comes and you haven't gone to TaxEase, either agree or disagree, unfortunately, we will take the commissioner's estimate as true. It will be as if you are agreeing to the commissioner's estimate, and it will be due and payable by immediately after 31st of December. So please ensure that you go to TaxEase, you make the necessary adjustment that you need to make, but ensure that you pay by the 31st of December so that you avoid penalties and interest.
In closing, Tebo, your last words to encourage clients to embrace the concept of a provisional tax and, of course, meet the upcoming deadlines as expected by the service.
Our message is very simple. Tax compliance is doable. You just need to do things on time. File early, pay early. Contact the ERS should you have challenges in terms of you doing your tax matters. Call us, reach out to us. We are available in the big towns of Eswatini, in all our service centers. We can assist you in terms of provisional tax or any other tax matter. You can even call us on 2406 4050. You can even visit, we are available actually also in social media platforms, You can go to Facebook. You can find Eswatini Revenue Service. We can assist you there as well. LinkedIn, we are available. Also, drop us an email. You can send it to info@ers.org.z. We're also available with a live chat actually on the website www.ers.org.z. Take advantage of those platforms. We have a big one as well, which we introduced lately, the mobile app. ERS TaxPal. Download that one. You can talk to us. That is also where you can find the different bank accounts where you can now make your payment towards your provisional tax. We want to encourage everyone who's been called to adhere to the call of provisional tax. Please take this seriously and ensure that you do things on time and pay your provisional tax. It will make your life easier when you now eventually file your annual income tax return. You might just find that you don't pay anything because you would have already have paid the installments right on time.
Thank you very much, Debo. That's all the time we had. We'll leave it here for now.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. We'll cross over now to our in-house economist, Anele Sibia, who joins us virtually just to give us an analysis of how markets are looking today. Mr. Sibia, thank you very much for your time. Pleasure talking to you. So the Fed decision on interest rates actually came in with a 25 basis point cut. What's been the market reaction?
Thank you, Notsile, and a good afternoon to the viewers. So what we're seeing here, Notsile, is markets are taking those news in a positive light, although there is a bit of, not even a bit, a lot of caution, given the global market environment and also given those valuation fears around artificial intelligence stocks. So when that announcement came out, the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped up some 497 points, and the Standard & Poor's Index jumped up some 46 points there, just showing that the blue chips are really just heading towards those record highs. And then we're seeing a bit of some upward trajectory movement within that tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index, but we still are seeing those issues, more especially when we saw what happened with Oracle towards the end of the trading day yesterday. The numbers came out from Oracle, but they were not as impressive. It just showed that investors are required to spend a bit more before we can start seeing those revenues, and those have been the worries around those artificial intelligence stocks. And that reading coming out of Oracle has somehow held down markets in London in Shanghai, and also across the pond to what is happening there is still on that 9,000 mark, but just barely flatlining, even with those positive news coming out of the Feds. But we are also mindful of the fact that there are indications that central banks across the
My apologies there. We are experiencing internet challenges with regards to hearing Mr. Spear, but I do hope he's on the line and we'll be able to communicate now. Mr. Spear, are you still with us? Right. Sasbia was still giving us the numbers today with regards to what's happening in global markets. Actually, he was still filling us in on the FTSE that's currently reading at 9,670.34, which actually shows an improvement of 14.81% there. And with regards to DAX, it's actually at 24,164.2 euros, and that's actually a slight improvement there, up by 32.28. And also moving on to the CAC 40 index, we're looking at 8,063.86 euros. And moving on, we're going to now have a look at the Asian stock market, whereby the Nikkei starting off with the Japanese yen, stands at 50,148.2 Japanese yen. Now that's actually quite the decline. And moving on to the Hang Seng Index, it stands at 25,530.51 Hong Kong dollar. And with regards to the SI, we're going to the SCI, actually, that's 3,000. That's currently at 3,873.32 Chinese dollar. And moving on to commodities this afternoon, gold is selling at $4,243.30 per ounce, up by 18.6. They're quite the improvement. And with regards to crude oil, we're looking at $61.33 per barrel. Moving on, we're going to have a look now at currencies. That's the lilangeni versus some of the world's strongest currencies, whereas versus the US dollar, the lilangeni is currently trading at 16.92 emalangeni, and versus the euro, we're currently trading at 19.82 emalangeni actually, and versus the Japanese yen, we're looking at 9.22 emalangeni. My apologies there for the interference while we're still in conversation with Mr. Sibia. Otherwise, this is the part where we wrap up the show. From myself and the team, thank you very much for sticking with us. Do have yourself a lovely December. And actually, as you're heading for the festives, make sure you're safe. Bye.